For clear audio reproduction, proper speaker phase adjustment is just as important as frequency response correction, yet it is often overlooked. Although most phase inequalities are caused by speaker placement errors, there will always be phase anomalies inherent to the speaker which can result from electrical or acoustic delays within the speaker crossover networks as well as the speaker boxes and ports. You should adjust the physical placement and orientation of the speakers carefully to have them acoustically in phase and reach the listener's ears at the correct time. However, asymmetrical room reflections will almost always leave some residual phase differences. There are two main yet equally crucial types of phase correction. First is the phase correction required to time align your speaker's drivers with each other. This primarily involves correcting phase shifts caused by crossovers between drivers. For precise time alignment between the woofer and the other drivers, box and port phase alignment will also factor into the equation. The other and even more critical aspect of phase correction is phase alignment between the left and right speakers. When speakers are out of phase with each other at certain frequencies, it can cause audible cancellation in the frequency response. It also leads to other issues including but not limited to an incoherent, collapsed, or ambiguous stereo image, sounds not panning smoothly between speakers, incorrectly placed vocals and instruments, and loose and less impactful bass. When you play a mono-pink noise signal from both speakers simultaneously and move your head slightly to left and right, if the tone of the pink noise is changing, you can understand that your left and right speakers are not completely in phase with each other. Taking the time to properly correct for these phase issues provides a truly worthwhile sonic benefit and an optimized listening experience. Phase correction is complex, and I simply don't have all the answers. But in this tutorial, I'll pass along mostly original techniques I have validated through vigorous testing and listening experience. First and foremost, always work on correcting excess phase rather than the phase response itself. Digital correction assumes that speakers exhibit minimum phase behavior. However, the room does not inherently have this property. But it can be made approximately minimum phase at a single point, the listening position. Minimum phase is fundamentally important for two key reasons. It has the lowest signal delay, hence ensuring all frequencies arrive at the same time. And secondly, it has a predictable relationship between magnitude and phase response, so it can be inverted, opening the possibility for digital correction. Therefore, the main goal of every digital correction should be to remove as much excess phase as possible from the system, thereby bringing the overall phase response closer to the speaker's underlying minimum phase behavior.
Alright, time for the boring human to step in. I know I don't sound nearly as polished or captivating as my British AI friend Arthur from AWS here, but I'll do my best not to put you to sleep. Let's go quickly over the tutorial steps, all of which will be indexed in the video description so you can quickly fast forward during your repeated visits. Optimal REW settings for precise phase measurement. Calibration microphone phase correction we will be talking about. Increasing accuracy with multiple midpoint and repeated measurements. Generating excess phase correctly. Correcting crossover and box port phase shifts to spec with rePhase filter linearization tools. Correcting for phase cancellations between speakers with second order AllPass filters. And finally generating optimal FIR filters. For accurate phase correction, first we need to measure phase accurately. Here are the rev references. 500 millisecond left window, 1000 millisecond right window. This is important to import excess phase corrections, AllPass filters. With 100 millisecond left window, you will have disturbances in the SPL of the otherwise 0 dB correction. And adjust clock with acoustic reference or loop back, depending on your setup, is very important, of course, for timing alignment. And align IR peak and align t equals 0 to a sampling instant also helps. Apply calibration to distortion, this is also important. And no frequency dependent windowing and no smoothing, and rectangular windows, so that they are the same as rePhase windows, which is actually no window in a way. Multiple point measurements cross-correlated at the central LP will improve phase accuracy, and so will longer and louder measurements, as they will help with the signal to noise ratio. It's also a good idea, and now easier than ever in REW, to take repeated measurements and vector average them for the same microphone location, while carefully watching distortion window and removing odd ones out. Here my left speaker measurement, the one I'm using, is a vector average of L0. The microphone position was at the central location, and L1 like 20 centimeters ahead of it, and there were at least 5 measurements averaged. 2-3 of them were eliminated due to high distortion, more distortion than the others. I was watching it on the overlays distortion screen while taking the measurements. If some of them has weird jumps, I delete them right away and then vector average all of them at the end. So I have left and right speaker measurements here. But before that, something of more importance. Unfortunately, even the better microphones that come with a calibration file only include correction in the frequency domain. However, every calibration microphone will also have phase shifts, especially in the low bass and high frequency areas. A solution to adjust for microphone phase deviations, at least partially, is to create a minimum phase version of the microphone calibration file. How we do it for my UMic microphone, here is the horizontal calibration file for 0 degrees horizontal placement pointing towards the speaker. Okay, as you can see, it has only frequency and magnitude data in it, no phase information. These are the deviations of this microphone from 0 dB in these frequencies. Let's do it 2020. Okay, but we don't have any information on the phase deviations. So what we do is go to all SPL and minimum phase version and not include cal effects. It's irrelevant. Replicate data outside range. You have to tick this for proper generation and make minimum phase copy. Now export this as text. Smoothing of measurement, range of measurement, everything the same. And as you see now, we have the phase information near the frequencies as well as the SPL volume information. And save this as, this was the original name, and minimum phase version, MP. And after that, change calibration file, rows, and direct it to the newly created minimum phase version of your calibration file, of your microphone. These measurements were already taken with the minimum phase version I created, so I don't need to change them. But this is how you correctly adjust your measurements for their phase response. If you're gonna use 90 degrees vertical, which I wouldn't suggest after seeing the phase response, here is the 90 degrees one. And when I generate minimum phase version, replicate data, go to overlays and compare their phase responses, 20 to 20, only the minimum phase microphone responses. This is 0 degrees. As you see, they are the same in the base area, but here the 90 degrees microphone calibration and the minimum phase version of it has 44 degrees of difference from reality at around 13,000 Hertz. Horizontal 0 degree placement has some 15 degrees. And now we are taking care of this in the measurements, and it makes a difference. This is also important. You should prefer using the microphone pointing towards the speaker for more accurate phase measurements according to this data. Cross-correlation align every measurement of each speaker and then vector average each speaker for the definitive left and right speaker measurements, which you see here. This and this one. Any of these now. Finally, cross correlation align both speakers. Now let's do that. Watching them in overlays simultaneously. Now left and right speaker, copy selections to overlays. You can see there is a slight difference between the left and right speaker impulse peaks. My right speaker was the acoustic reference speaker, so I put it above the left speaker and perform a cross correlation align. You can see them align with each other here on the overlays impulse window. As you see, at one click of cross correlation align, they are now aligned. Now you can create their vector average and call this LR. Left-right vector average. Its impulse peak is also right on top of them because they were aligned. This measurement has IR delays. You have to remove it. Removing IR delays mean bringing the first peak of the impulse response to time 0. Here the highest peak is at time 0 at the moment because it was adjusted to acoustic reference. By removing IR delays, excess phase is better aligned for rephase also. So here for the left and right vector average, you have to remove the IR delay from here. Now the first peak is at time 0, okay? After you remove the IR delay, you go and create excess phase version. And include calibration file effects. That's also important. Now you produce the excess phase for your speakers. To make it more readable, maybe apply psychoacoustic smoothing. And you can try to remove IR delays, if any, from the excess phase. There is nothing at the moment. And this is the excess phase of your speaker system. Now export this as text, one with psychoacoustic smoothing, and call this LREP smoothed. You should create one smoothed and one unsmoothed response because both are useful to see in rePhase. And this one not smoothed. Now let's go to rePhase. First, import measurement, the excess phase data of our left and right speakers, average measurement, this one. Okay, here you start applying filter linearization tools from the spec of your speakers. You have to know the crossovers. Mine are 2700. You have to start from the highest crossover frequency. I have two crossovers, one at 2700 Hertz. It will not be less than 24 dB per octave, which is 4 orders in today's speakers. And the second one, and I have only two, is at 260 Hertz. Again, this one is another 12 dB per octave over the first one. In fact, 36 dB per octave on that one in total. So this is 6th order. Every 6 dB per octave is 1 order of crossover filter. When you see your excess phase spread to plus pi and minus pi 180 degrees like that, instead of being at 0 degrees, this means there is a polarity inversion in your crossovers. So my mid-range and tweeter drivers are inverted, which actually is the case. You can find it in the test of your speaker if you're lucky. So invert polarity, and now they are all at the middle. So these two crossover linearization tools, this phase was corrected suddenly. This one corrected at 2700 and flattened it here, and the second one at 260 flattened even more at this yellow line here, 260 Hertz, and it's now fairly flat, except for the low base area, for which you have to apply a box correction, and inverted. Your case might not be inverted. Your frequencies will be different. You will have maybe one crossover only, and your orders can be different too. You can find them out from speaker test specs and what have you, or you can just try manually to flatten it as much as possible. Now, rectangular, okay. 32 bits IEEE mono is the highest resolution REW will understand. Actually, it can even understand 64 bits, but not necessary. 48,000 Hertz sampling rate, because this is what our measurements are done at. And to keep the window size the same with REW, which is 1000 milliseconds, it has to be 131,072 samples. Any less than that, it will have smaller write window size than 1000. Save it to the same folder we've been working with, which is, I think, phase video. Yeah, this one. This is now only the crossover correction. There is no port or box correction yet. Let's just save it. And now import it to REW by just dropping it in. It will come with a SPL offset. Random SPL offset. You can see it in the info window here easily. This one came with 117 dB. In this session, they will all be coming with 117 dB offset. You don't have to change it, but before finalizing the filter, it doesn't have any effect on the calculations. But let's just do it. You have to apply minus 117 dB, and now you can see it at 0 dB. It's a phase correction with no SPL, no frequency magnitude effect, but all effect on the phase here. This is the crossover phase correction. When you now multiply, which means convolve this correction with your speaker, for example, right speaker, this is the phase response you will get. Let's work with psychoacoustic smoothed versions. So this was original R, this is after phase correction. And remove IR delays from both. As you see, the tip of the high frequency phase response is now around 0. This is 0 excess. What I'm trying to show you here actually is minimum phase response of the speaker after around 200 Hertz is not at 0. Okay? And the excess phase of this response is around 0. So if you try to correct for the phase response instead of excess phase response, you will falsely try to correct this area here. You will try to bring this minimum phase here down to 0. But in fact, it shouldn't be brought down, because this is the minimum the phase can be with the speaker in this region. That's why it's important you only correct excess phase. You will be over the minimum phase stage of that speaker and you will just cause echoes and ringing. It's not gonna be natural for the speaker if you try to correct the phase to 0 degrees. You have to just try to make the speaker minimum phase. For that, you have to remove the excess phase. Now let's continue our correction. This was just to show the minimum phase is not really a flat at 0 degree phase response. Only excess phase should be like that. Now my port frequency, my speakers are ported, front and rear by the way. I used vented low Q for some time. This is for rear port and I think high Q for front port. You can see it's kind of tilting. And here also it's quite important. Sometimes when you use smoothed, it's easier to see. This is psychoacoustic smoothing excess phase. Low Q is not at 0. Standard Q is a bit better. High Q is closer to 0 but still nowhere near 0. And if we switch the range from 20 to 24 kHz. So this really helps, okay? It's kind of equal up and down here and here also. You can add a subsonic filter maybe at this stage to correct a little better, but it's moving also this part. You have to check for this part equal to this part overall when you're correcting phase. So this could be a phase correction. This is what I used to do for a long time. But in fact, it's a complicated port system in my speaker. There are front and rear ports. So a better way, for example, than this, because high Q, low Q and standard Q, neither of them are good enough for my 41 Hz port correction. Instead, I can use, for example, an AllPass first order filter, time inverted. When you select compensate here, this is time inverted filter at 41 Hz. As you see, this is better than every one of them. This is more on 0 than any of the other box corrections. So with AllPass filters, you can even use for box and port correction. Now let's create the same crossover frequency. And now let's move it here. Apply 117 degrees. I repeat, this is not necessary for this calculation, but I just do it to avoid further mistake, because if you don't, then when you create this R times XO, this time this XO, it will go high up to the 150 dB level and you won't be able to see it on the screen. Now this is R1, let's say, and let's compare them. Their phase response, all psychoacoustic. So this was the original right speaker. This was after just crossover phase correction. 20 to 20, right? Okay, and this is after port correction also. You have to remove IR delays, sometimes more than once. Yeah. Now when they're aligned, time aligned, as you see, this one is, and this is excess phase, so it should be at 0 axis, as close as possible to 0 axis. It is not the minimum phase you're correcting. There should be no excess phase left. Even these are your enemies here and here and here, but not that important. I mean, at the end of the day, this is just, well, it's quite important. 45 degrees excess phase here is something we should take care of. But this is the speaker, box, port and crossover correction altogether. If we go back to rePhase, if you have a sealed speaker, for example, you could use around the box with the closed Qs here, okay? These are ported, vented low, vented high, vented standard, and these are for sealed boxes. If neither of those match, here you can see the Q values. These are in fact all all-pass filters, or second degree all-pass filters with a Q value. You can imitate better, you can match even better to your speaker by using all-pass filters. Now, before we move on to phase correction for phase anomalies between speakers, which is quite important, let me quickly show you one more benefit of all-pass filters for spectrogram guys out there. This is the left speaker, Gaussian and X-ray. Okay, these are peak energy times of frequencies. For example, here 33 Hertz has peak energy time instead of 0, something like 70 milliseconds. 33 Hertz coming to the listening position with 70 milliseconds of delay. Whereas, for example, 38 Hertz is coming with only 50 milliseconds of delay. These time differences between the arrivals of the frequencies, you can see that also in group delay graph. These peak energy time, it's almost impossible to get rid of them with frequency equalizers, okay, IIR filters. And one way to get rid of them quite quickly is, for example, let's pick up this one, let's say 66.6 Hertz. Okay, we can see better like this, maybe from 10 to 200 Hertz. Where is the peak of this one? And it's 111 milliseconds too late, coming at 67 Hertz. Okay, let's try to get rid of it. And for the left speaker, in fact, you don't even see anything wrong at 67 other than a dip, as you see here. Okay, still at 67, you have a dip. So you can't really boost that dip. You cannot do anything to help with this peak energy time at 67. However, if you go to rePhase, set settings, 67 Hertz, again time inverted, second order all pass, and with a quite high Q. Actually, if I imported excess phase of the left speaker, which I don't have, let's quickly produce it. And let's clear its IR delays and export. Psychoacoustic will be fine enough. Let's speaker excess phase. Come back to rePhase now and import it. Okay, what is wrong at 67? Let's see. Not much seems to be going wrong with 67. Maybe it's because of the smoothing. Anyway, with a second order all-pass filter with a very high Q, for example, you can correct it. This is not a good example for this, but still I'll continue because we picked that 67 Hertz. Let's call this L67 correction and 48 Hertz. And move it to REW and L times L67. Now let's see the spectrogram. Look, this was the original L. Look at the peak energy time here at 111 milliseconds. And after this second order all-pass filter, look what happened to it. It came down to 30 milliseconds, 31. This is one use, but obviously you have to be very careful. This kind of Q. Now let's go to the filter L67 and The type of spectrogram that I believe can show pre-echo in a filter is the ARECWT for continuous wavelet transform, constant Q, and you have to look at it at y-axis, 1/3 frequency resolution. These are not default settings, by the way. 24 PPO and 500 to 500. Usually anything below 100 is major pre-echo, but I don't see vertical lines. So it might not ring. I mean, there is one here and one kind of here. I mean, they start here, but they are not in the green area. I don't have a mathematical explanation for that, but when you see like fences, vertical lines here with spaces between them, then it's a given pre-echo without even doing a listening test. To be certain, the only way is to test the filter with a pre-echo happy song like Billie Jean. The start of it has a great potential to ring if the filter rings. So convolution, go find desktop and then base video and L67 select. Okay, but let's first listen to the original version without convolution. Also turn off the right speaker so that only the left speaker is active, and this part. With the ringing filter, you will definitely hear odd sounds coming before the bass hits. It's hard to explain. Now with this filter convolt, well, it's not ringing, interestingly. How can we create a ringing filter? Let's try 100 Hz, 103 Hz. I remember to be quite a ring happy one. Let's do it. 103. Generate. First, let me see if I can see it in the CWT graph. Well, see, there are these tiny little vertical lines starting here. Although it like sometimes all the way here are full of vertical lines, that these are 100% ringing. Anyway, now we convolve it. 103 and start our song. Yeah, it's definitely ringing. I don't know if you're hearing it, but it starts like moo, moo before the bass hits. And by the way, these are my test songs. Billie Jean for bass pre-echo, Bubbles for high frequency pre-echo and post-echo also, and Californication for clipping management. This is like a 1 minute 34 seconds into this song. We'll clip it any filter unless you use Look. The red clipping light of Rune is already fully on with this song at all times. See? But the reason it's clipping now is because the filter is not windowed, and I just randomly sent it from rePhase directly. So this is how you test for ringing and how you can minimize the energy peaks in different frequencies if you need to. But the real most useful and important use of phase correction is the correction you do between speakers. Now let's quickly do one. Look at these filters at 117 dB. They are also changing the volume level. Quickly, let me show you, because this is 100 millisecond left width, and let's only leave 103 there. Here you see it. When you increase the left window size to 500 milliseconds, you see all the volume disturbances are gone, almost gone. At 1000 they will be completely gone. They are not going anywhere, you're just windowing them out, but this is why we use 500 and 1000 for phase correction. So now let's get rid of all this unnecessary stuff. Okay, we have the final crossover correction here. I like to put L first. Now L times crossover, call this L1, and R times crossover, call this R1. This is crossover and box and port phase shifts corrected versions of left and right speaker. Now create excess phase versions. First remove their IR delays. Since they are speaker measurements, you should remove IR delays before you vector average them, otherwise vector average will not be very happy. Now vector average and call this LR1. Now create an excess phase version of LR1 and L1 and R1. Copy them to overlays graph, psychoacoustic smoothing. Okay, now LR1 combined speaker from 20 to 20, that's why it's looking so absurd, is quite flat, like 15-degree only phase shifts from 0 axis throughout almost all the way, except for this region here and mainly this region here. This region is problematic for both left and the right, as you can see. But this frequency around 270 Hz is not a problem area for L1, but R1 has a very weird phase response there, and it's causing the combined stereo response also to wildly deviate from 0 phase around this frequency. This discontinuity dashed line means this is going all the way and all the way. So here, for example, there is 75-degree phase shift at 285 Hz, or here there is 45-degree phase shift at 240 Hz and goes higher. What can be done about this? We have to correct the right speaker at this frequency so that it is similar to left speaker, so that their stereo combined response vector average also is decent in terms of excess phase. So let's check the frequency more accurately. Zoom in as much as you can and click on the dash line, and 271.06. Yeah, 0.08 is the problem frequency for right speaker. Also export right speaker excess phase so we know what we are correcting. No smoothing this time, so we can see the effect of the filter. Right speaker excess phase. And now reset settings, import right speaker excess phase, and let's see what was the frequency. (271.08). Second degree AllPass, compensate, time reversed. Now let's see how much we can fix this. 7 is too much, 6 is not enough, so 6.5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, yeah, something like that. It's a reasonable Q, okay, and it made it all flat. Now call this R271 phase correction, whatever, rectangular, 131072, 48,000 and triple I mono. Import it to REW. dim its volume down just for the cause. So now R1 times this filter, and call this R2. Vector average of R2 and L1. Instead of R1 we use R2 after this filter. Remove IR delays again, vector average, and this is now LR2. LR2 excess phase. Now we check LR2 excess phase versus LR1 excess phase, and also R2's excess phase. Let's just put there for the show. Copy selections to overlays, fit to data 20 to 20, psychoacoustic, and remove IR delays of everything. One more time. Yeah, they aligned as you see. So this is 0 degrees, and at 271 R2 is almost flat. This was how R1 was. Let me show you this way. R1 was with the second order time reversed AllPass filter is now like that. Okay, and the average response of left and right speaker turned from this to this, as you see, completely flat. So this is how you correct major left and right speaker differences with second degree AllPass filters. Now we didn't need with this one, but usually you will need two AllPass filters with opposite direction at the same frequency, which basically gives you this possibility. Let's clear the result and clear the measurement too. Okay, look. About twice the size of the Q of the first one, but this one is normal, not time inverted, and about the size, like something like that. These are the phase corrections you regularly will need in digital correction. Okay, either with a slope counterclockwise or with a slope clockwise. If you need a clockwise slope, use the reversed Q higher than the normal Q. So you can change the slope of it, you can change the size of it, as you see, and you can adjust your filter, avoiding pre-echo as you wish. In fact, almost every phase deviation, if not completely correctable, is improvable to a level of echo by using second order AllPass filters, and in this way. Normally with just one filter, every AllPass will have this discontinuity at the frequency, no matter which Q you use. Okay, so the benefit of this kind of filter is limited, but when you add another one with half the thing, then you have some no magnitude phase filter. I think this is about it. Let's just check that filter for ringing, if you will. First with REW. Okay, this 271 from the graphs, if you're gonna understand what it's doing. CWT and 1/3. Yeah, this is the filter, and I don't see any ringing. These lines, if they continued up like that, I was gonna be sure it's ringing, but it goes only 40 milliseconds below zero, so quite a nice filter. We can also try. This time with the right speaker on and the convolution again gone, of course, desktop, and this ruins this one. Jean, go. No ringing at all. When you hear ringing once, pre-echo, not exactly ringing, and then you will always start listening for it, so you will start hearing echo that you didn't hear before. And if a filter rings with Billie Jean, that doesn't mean that the filter will ring regularly. Probably you will almost never hear the ringing or echo with other songs, up until one day you hear it with some song, all of a sudden. I think that's all. The advantage of manual calibration, as you see, I mean, this kind of second order all-pass filters, testing each filter for pre-echo before using it. With automated calibration systems, I mean, most of them don't even correct for phase, but if they do, they have to use such a mild correction to make sure that it will not cause any sort of ringing in any situation, any system. Try to understand why they can never match to properly done manual calibration. Technically, they have no way. This is all for today, folks. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, and goodbye.